Welcome to the Vault XL. This is live number 2. Thank you for your time. In several days, there will be a 3-year anniversary of the disappearance of Summer Wells. And that will be upcoming Saturday. What happened to her? What is the truth to her disappearance? Why no updates? Sadly, there is no reward fund for the child because it was disrespectfully meddled in and dismantled. We're going to chop it up during this live stream, and I will be talking about Miss Summer Wells, little lady, little butterfly, Summer Wells. The blueprint. Is her case the blueprint for another case out of Tennessee? Some might say her case was the blueprint for another case, a copycat, a guidebook of what to do and say to distract the masses, to distract law enforcement. Is her case a copycat? Someone watched the contents pertaining to the child, the bio donors, and decided it was the perfect plan for them to unalive their child, to play the same mind games with social media, YouTube. You be the judge. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $McGange, 129, Cash App, stickers and chats. Always welcome during the live stream. Where is this child? Who knows where she could be found? And will we ever get an update pertaining to her disappearance? 3 years and no update. Why not? Suspects. Are there suspects? Does law officials consider this case criminal? Number 1. Do you have suspects? Number 2. Number 3. At this point, we can say, what is the holdup? Court TV is the source.
Picture. Her name is Summer Wells. We've been covering this one for a while. She was last seen June 15th of this year. June 15th. Massive search efforts. Members of that community, unbelievable. I haven't seen a reaction like this since years ago down in Orlando, Florida. Folks are concerned. Folks want to find this little angel. But she's been missing since June 15th. Her mother, Candace Wells, spoke to WJHL. They shared the interview with us, explained what happened the moment, the day that Summer Wells was last seen and when she went missing. Listen closely.
Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma. And she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay. And I walked her all the way over to the porch. And I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes, I came back. She went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times. And I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone.
Summertime at Grateful Fly.
She was just gone. Was she gone, Candace? What do you define as gone? Stay woke, everybody.
All right, a couple things, right? So she walks into the house, goes into the kitchen. The boys say she goes downstairs to the playroom, and then Mom comes back in 2 minutes. Now, she might be estimating it. She might not be exactly right, but she comes back very quickly, and she's gone. I mean, it happened that fast, according to Candace Wells, Summer's mom. So let's go back to the scene. I want to show you a photo first. This is a photo of the house. Let's take a close look at this, because when I first heard this story, and if we could drop the letters on the bottom so we get a clearer look at everything. You look at the house here, and I looked at the house, and when I first heard that she went downstairs, I was wondering, is there a door? Is it a walkout basement? But as you can see from the cinder blocks, it's not deep enough. There is no door. There are some windows on the bottom, but the back door, that's the back door. So if she goes in the front and mom is hanging out around the front or somewhere out there, and she exits the home, it would have to be through that door, because in this shot you can see it almost looks like there's doors over there on the basement, but it's not. Those are windows. So the only door is over there, which looks like the back door. Let me bring in our special guest joining us as we take a look at these pictures and think about what happened here. Joseph Scott Morgan is with us, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, former senior investigator for the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, and forensics media analyst. Also joining us in Chicago, Illinois, private investigator Erica Morse. Great to see you both. Joseph Scott Morgan, I'm going to start with you with the picture. Let's put that picture back up of the home. As you look at that home, if in fact she goes in there, it seems to me she'd have to exit out that back door, and within 2 minutes, she's got to be gone. Like not in the yard. She's got to be in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, it all depends on points of entry in this dwelling. If that is a single point of entry, and the one that the mother would suspect that she would have to exit from, you can see the large wooded area to the rear. So my thought is this, Ben. One of the things that I'm kind of toying with, was there somebody that potentially had gained access to the interior of the house that may perhaps have been lying in wait for this little girl, that had access to her, that had identified her, maybe over a protracted period of time. Maybe they were watching through the woods, just to see if they had an opportunity. And once maybe perhaps they made entrance into the house, they could have snatched her at that point, or they could have waited until she exited. I think one of the keys here is observance and collection of any kind of physical evidence within that dwelling that cannot be associated with.
One moment, everybody. 1 second. All right, everybody, I'm back. Sorry about that. It was an important call. Sorry. Woo, just getting some business lined up for the next live. Thank you so much. Hopefully everything will fall through with that information. Thank you so much for waiting. Court TV is the source, everybody.
With anyone or tied back to anyone that is domiciled there, any kind of stranger DNA that might be in there, say for instance, touch DNA that has been left behind. Of course, that would mean that the scene would have had to have been secured and that they could have tested for it at that moment in time.
Erica, your thoughts about the initial part of the story that within 2 minutes she's out of that house. It seems to me she would have had to have gone out the back door, because I think if she went out the front door, someone would have seen her. So if she snuck out the back and was an adventurous 5-year-old, she had to make a beeline for the wooded area.
Correct. And I think if she had left on her own, I think she would have been found by now. There would have been some indication of that. Remember, they are still looking for a Toyota Tacoma in regards to this situation. So this really does feel planned to me in some way or another.
Wow.
The property itself is very rural. I don't see this more as a crime of opportunity. I see this as somebody, like was already said, where someone was either lying in wait or identified that a child was in the house, because I just don't think there was enough time for someone to have inadvertently driven up, walked up, grabbed her, and gone. Mom's passed the polygraph test. That is fantastic. So now they've ruled her out in that regard. They can start spreading a little bit further. I am also equally encouraged by the fact that Texas EquiSearch is involved, Midwest EquiSearch, and they're good. They're really good at what they do.
Interesting in this commentary. We're going back. This commentary is from 2 years ago. The crime or abduction or runoff or pre-planned 3 years ago. She says that the mother passed her polygraph. So interesting to hear that, because when I go back to videos I've played from my local news and WJHL, I don't remember anyone saying she passed the polygraph. Candace Blythe. You also hear mentioning of the red truck, which was eventually debunked by law enforcement. This woman also tells you that she believes that someone lied in wait. They were already there. They didn't come up the drive to run up to get the child. Somebody that already knew she was there, that she would be there. So then you have to ask yourself, who would know she's in the basement? How would a stranger know that's where she would be at that given moment? Stay woke. Rural area, exactly. Most people don't venture off on the properties in rural America because they don't know what they're going to find when they get up there. Their driveway was broke up. Once again, a hindrance to an average car, low riding car, such as like a Honda or Nissan. You tear your car up. Pay attention. So if it was a creepy crawly, how did he know about Summer Wells, or she? How did this person know to go up on that property undetected, no animals barking, to alert parents, family members, someone's on the property? How do you know you can get in the door, go in that door, and what makes you think she's in that door or through that door? I ask all the pertinent questions.
And they have a lot of different technology to use. And so I think that their focus is probably going to be that wooded area and some others.
Yeah, they're coming in over the weekend. Let's take a look at a really wide shot to give you another perspective here, Joseph. As you can see where the house is, there are no neighbors there. There's no neighbors. And that arrow again is pointing to that same door that we've been pointing to in the other pictures. I just look at so isolated, Joseph, so isolated. That's what is so striking to me.
Yeah, it is. And this is one of the things regarding what Heather had stated, that this is, in my opinion at least, a planned event. This is not something where she's in a large metropolitan area. Someone would have,
once again, planned.
First off, would have had to have known that this residence was back there. So as an investigator, you begin to think about that. Who would have access to this area? Who would know how to get there? Who would know the points of entry and exit, and where they could make their way through there without being seen? So it requires some indwelling knowledge and familiarity with that specific area. I hope that the wooded area around there was kind of locked down. The reason is if there was a point where an observable point where an individual could have been laying in wait, for instance, they may have stayed there for a while. And as a result of that, they could have left evidence in that specific area, say cigarette butts, candy wrappers, footprints, anything like that. So it has to be thoroughly searched. And that's the key to all of this. I agree. I don't think she just wandered off in a straight line and left. Remember, she's barefooted, Ben. She's not going to make it very far. She might be just sitting in the woods crying. In the short period of time, I think somebody got their hands on her.
Okay, Erica, if someone is lying in wait, and we're looking at all these incredible images that we're getting to really get an idea of what this area is like, what's the escape? How do they escape? Do they park down on this road and then walk up and wait in that wooded area around the house? How do you get from, okay, there's a little girl alone in the house, or steps out of the house, I grab her, and then I get completely out of the area, and no one sees me?
Well, we don't know who made the tip or the report regarding the Toyota Tacoma. And that would be a key aspect to me looking at this from an investigative standpoint, because where that Toyota Tacoma was spotted could tell us whether or not somebody was lying in wait potentially. They have not said if this is a witness or a suspect or a person of interest, I should say. And so the location of where that vehicle was seen that is of such keen interest to investigators is something I would really be interested to know. Because if it was a mile away, then someone had to potentially grab Summer and walk or dart. That's why you always start at that last known location and work your way out. 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, 4 mile, 5 and 6. Because there is, again, there's physical evidence that can be found in those locations if somebody is kind of stuck. And I recall Dad saying from his previous interviews that he wished they had cornered off or locked down that area sooner. I do remember him getting very upset because that area had been almost not locked down enough. And so I think there's a concern that somebody could have waited and gotten out. And again, I would go back to the location of where that vehicle was allegedly spotted, because if it was too close to the house, that could be a getaway vehicle.
We've got 2 more angles of the house that I want to put up on the screen as we continue to examine the scene of where all this took place. And again, we're going to look here at the house. And again, the red arrow going to that back door that we're looking at. You can see on the other side of the house, there's a little mobile unit there. That is, on this part, it's off to the right. But as you look there, I guess you could make a quick exit and not necessarily be seen, because the woods are relatively close, and it's that small window of time. What are your thoughts in speaking with witnesses through the years on their ability to accurately kind of remember concepts of time? Because Mom said, within 2 minutes. Joseph, do you think it was actually 2 minutes? Do you think could have been 10 minutes? Do you think it could have been less time? How accurate generally are witnesses when they recall a time period like that?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do, Ben, is remember the initial information came in vis-a-vis the brothers. And so that's what Mom had said, at least. And so that's important to kind of peg them down relative to when they actually last saw her, and how do they measure time in their young minds. Exactly how do you put a measure on this? So you have to do this in kind of a plus or minus fashion here. Also, relative to access and how quickly could you make your way out of there. Now, if it's a frenetic environment, disorganized, maybe Mom doesn't always have accountability relative to the kids. It's out in the country. Kids can just roam and rip and roar and that sort of thing. I know I did that when I was young. Mom might not remember specifically. And as you go down this timeline, as you move down linear time away from that critical point, memories become very faded. That's why it was very, very important for law enforcement to get to her as expeditiously as possible and grab that kernel of current information, because as time goes along, it'll begin to layer and her memory will change over a period of time. So you have to go back to those initial statements and check them for the veracity.
Erica, what are your thoughts about the boys and their recollection of what they saw, what they heard, and how you can get information from someone that is young?
First of all, they would have brought in, I'm sure, someone specialized in talking with and interviewing children. It's definitely someone with a social service background in conjunction with law enforcement, who is perhaps someone with a child forensic psychology background who could really extract that information properly, because children do perceive time differently than adults do. They may not even be watching a clock. I believe I may have read a report about video games being involved. That can easily distort time. So you would want somebody who specializes in understanding how to ask the questions of these children, depending upon their ages, and how to get them to recollect things more accurately. Additionally, something I wanted to note, the number one challenge that any parent of a missing child has reported to me throughout the years is the ability to accurately remember time. Once a parent is told that their child is missing, time stops. And so nailing down that timeline can be challenging. When you hear something like 2 minutes, it could be 15. It could be 5 or 10. It's hard to determine. I think that they're probably doing the best they can, and getting to mom as quickly as possible was a key aspect of this. Interviewing those brothers and nailing down just to the millisecond, honestly, is going to make all the difference in the world. But time is something that is very difficult when a family is in shock mode.
All right, and as Erica mentioned, Midwest EquiSearch will be there this weekend, so we'll see if there's any updates that happen, and we're going to stay on this story, and hopefully this does not become a story that we're talking about 5 years from now. You know, where is Summer Wells? But when we come back, we're going to be talking about where is baby Jacqueline, and this is a story that goes.
Well, Vinnie Politan, you brought forward this information allegedly in 2021. Well, it's now 2024, so possibly 2.5 years later. On Saturday, it will mark, 3 years. A report went into the Dispatch that a girl child is missing. You also heard in this commentary, the mother passed the polygraph. As I said, I've never heard this information on a news broadcast. Most of the information that I've heard pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells came from her father, her mother. They were the walkie-talkies of this storyline, narrative, however you want to word it. But nothing has been concrete proven by law officials as far as the child making it home, CCTV footage, wandering off. We heard something about a dog scent. Now we hear red truck. Later on, he debunked that, the sheriff, that it didn't have any relevance to the story. Other children in the house, we didn't hear from them, their version of what happened, what they saw, what they heard. A neighbor comes forward saying she heard a scream allegedly. Can't really decide if she was telling the truth, and she decided she wanted to come to YouTube to be a YouTube sensation. The mother was out and about in Kingsport, Tennessee, which is right next door to Rogersville, running around the town because allegedly her mother had to go to the hospital. And she also picked up a 15-year-old boy who belongs to a friend who is no longer alive by the name of Allison. But when you watch the news interviews, you never hear anything about Boy H. You never hear anything about what she did that day. She takes the story just to the house. And this is where interviewers fail. You need to ask them what they did that day, because that's a part of the story. Don't start the story at the house. Because when you go to court, if you've ever been to court for anything, to testify or give a story, that's what you would tell the judge, because that's where he or she wants you to start. It's what you were doing at that time, because they don't like when you start doing the winded stuff of what you wore that day and what time you got up and fed the cat, the dog. They want you to start at the moment the incident occurred. So you see, court is different than talking to the reporter to spin the story of the day. I would start of the day, because indeed, if someone is involved in the crime, they will probably slip up. That's why you start at, what did you do this morning? How did your day start? Oh, okay. Well, you see, we got up and, you know what I'm saying? And that's something you didn't hear in the commentary from the reporters talking to them outside the house. She appears inebriated, barely blinks, because she appears to be under the influence of something, Candace Bly. So then you have to ask yourself, what was she under the influence? We also heard them come to YouTube to tell us, well, she didn't immediately take the lie detector test because she was so upset. She was so distraught. Naturally, it would trigger the lie detector test to render false, because you're upset, your blood pressure's high, heart palpitating, and it probably will give a false reading. But once again, the lie detector test is admissible in court, so to some it doesn't really matter, but it's a tool that is used in law enforcement just to get a basis of what they're dealing with. Did Donald Wells take a lie detector test, and did he pass? But once again, you can pass a lie detector test and be lying, because if you are a sociopath, you have the Hannibal Lecter syndrome. Your blood pressure doesn't raise. You're not excessively, what they would say, blinking and this and fidgeting, because if you're numb, you could possibly pass it. Of course you could. Why not? Anything's possible. So many people came out giving their testimony pertaining to this case. We had a Robin introduced. She was the Saturday day teacher at the church. Information about the flute guy. People had a lot to say about him that went to the church. A lot of people had negative things to say about him. He eventually kind of laid low in the cut, stayed off of social media because everybody was stalking him, harassing him, implicating him into this storyline. Then there was this guy who lived on a property next door who was supposed to be buying the property but went off to Georgia, so on and so forth. Just different entities. Then there was this other guy that worked with Don. He was interviewed maybe more than once. He talked about how bad the house looked, the state of the house. And naturally, you can see the state of the house in the videos. It's not a morning star. It's not the prettiest house on the block. It's a makeshift shed, if you will. It's a makeshift shed. But yet the husband worked. So some would say, well, why did the house look like this? He's a carpenter or he's got skills. Why not make your house look better? Different things were hanging on the windows, on the outside. Just ridiculousness. But that's the point. To each his own. They have been very quiet on YouTube as of late. I don't keep up with Candace Bly. I rarely go to her channel. It's been some months since I've looked over there. And she wasn't talking about anything then. Basically trying to appeal to the masses that she's sanctified now. And I guess a Christian, listening to gospel music while riding in the car with whomever. I'm not turned on by that. Oh, where's your child? Where is your child? We also learned during the storyline that the children were taken 6 weeks later from the disappearance of Summer Wells, her brothers. She has 3 brothers. who are still in the state's care. Sad, but it's true. Some will say, well, why did they take them 6 weeks later? We get information from Mr. Wells, if you believe it or not, that there was some type of altercation or something happened. He thought it was best, which makes no damn sense. See, that's the whole point of the story. You're never going to get the truth because the people in the story aren't truthful. They don't appear to be truthful people. So they spun the web up here, jumping from panel to panel, talking about their child, the kids, Pookie, Ray Ray, all type of stupid shit, cornbread mafia, just a bunch of nonsense. And some people fell for it. They couldn't wait to talk to them. They couldn't wait to jump on the bandwagon, to have them on their panel. They were just idiots, just like the Wells. But that's the point, isn't it? Like minds. Kind of like what you have in the recent events transpiring on YouTube with another case. Just a bunch of thirsty people who don't have anything better to do. And I must say, the Summer Wells case on YouTube was atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. The constant videos that came up in the YouTube queue. I'm sure YouTube never thought that they would see this many videos made about a little 5-year-old girl. What's the saying? Cash is king. But once again, YouTube is a business. It's a business, whether you like it or not. Where is the child? What happened to her? Did someone walk up on that property and lie in wait for her? Then you have to ask yourself, well, how would a person know where she would be to get her, to bring her out, not be seen going in, coming out? Stay woke. The two guests on this Court TV panel both agree. Somebody either lied in wait for her. It was planned because it's rural, it's out of the way. Make it make sense. A random person driving by on the street would not even know that there was a property up there because all you would see is pavement and then gravel at the end of the pavement meets the pavement. You don't know what's up there. Could be nothing up there. Could be a gravel road to nowhere. And that drive went all the way around the house. So when you look at an aerial view of this house, the drive goes circular around the house. Very interesting. And usually when you see properties with circular drives, they're usually nice size homes. Very well kept homes. You wouldn't expect to see a circle going around a shack. It's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Strange. Very strange. They didn't search for their girl child. Never met with the searchers. Midwest EquiSearch. That gentleman met with Mr. Wells at one point after his numerous complaints about him, saying not so nice things about Mr. Rader. And then eventually he met him, Mr. Rader, and he let him know, hey, we're here to search for your kid, blah, blah, blah. And I guess Don broke down and tried to act civil. But see, it's those little things that show you that there's something wrong in the story. That's why I always tell people to pay attention. When you have people who act like buffoons in a case of a missing child or relative, you have to ask yourself what the hell was going on before the person went missing. Because there's just no reason to act a donkey's ass with strangers about a missing person. They're here to help you. Whether you send for them or not, they're here to help. So what's your problem? What are you mad at this guy for? He doesn't have a dog in the race. He's trying to help find your kid. You got attitude. And then you decide to come up here to YouTube. And that's when all hell broke loose. Panel after panel after panel after panel. Coming in the chat, using aliases. Oh, I believe a few times he jumped up here in the back of Queen's panel. I don't let you come in here. Because there's no way I'm about to sit up here and let a white man call me a nigger. Hell will freeze over first. And that's all he did on live streams, calling people niggers. Who are you referring to, sir? Who were you calling a nigger? You must have been talking about yourself. Because you're the ignorant one. And as somebody has said to me recently, yeah, that certain person, let them come up on their panel. Well, it takes a nigger to know a nigger. Does it not? So, one nigger let another nigger up on their panel. Checkmate. Just disrespectful. But this is what you needed to see to show you what the child's life was like. You have somebody getting up here calling people derogatory names, and like they always say, it's what you answer to. Exactly, but it's still derogatory nonetheless. And you got up here calling people nasty names. He didn't even care. It didn't matter if you were black, white, or Mexican, Jew, Arab. You was a nigga. Did you understand what I'm saying? And this is who was raising children. Just straight gutter trash. Raising kids. Allegations of SA against a girl child. Many people thought, well, that's why he got her missing. But as somebody said the other day, you have to pay attention. You are the first person that people are going to look at if there's an open CPS case, if there have been CPS cases, whether closed or open. You're going to be the first person they look at. So that's a fool that would unalive a child for any allegation. Because that's the first thing a person's going to think. Well, why is the child missing all of a sudden? Come on, you have to use common sense. But then you also have to flip it and say, well, these might be fools that would kill a child because of CPS abuse, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know who did what, who touched whom. But we got information from a Mary who come forward to say she was touched by him. We learned that he had cases of abuse with his wife, kids, blah, 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 didn't take care of them. Candace had a past with children, not raising them. They went into state's care. Both had passed with CPS, abuse, so on and so forth. So it was a recipe for disaster, these two people meeting. 6 degrees of separation. Two fools met each other. They had children. I won't doubt there was abuse, alcoholism, drug use. And then poof, voila, a little girl's missing. Poof, voila, 3 boys are now in the state's care. The oldest was 13. He should be turning 16 this year. 2 years, he'll be a grown man out of the state's care. Will he reunite with these fools? God, I hope not. Sweet Jesus. Please do not. But that's the thing about children. They're resilient and they will love their parents despite their parents not being great people. It's just the way it is. We heard all type of crazy nonsense. Abuse. Allie's daughter running out there to spend the night, running away with her friends, sleeping in the back truck. Don didn't want her in the house for some weird reason. Then describing the girl in an inappropriate manner. He finally admits he had an inappropriate relationship with his stepsister. So somebody say, well, he's probably still a pedophile. He's still well, my thing is you learn by example. So if he was underage messing with children, more than likely Donald was abused himself. And I do believe they said he mentioned that he was abused because I didn't watch all the live streams because like I tell you, I've got pretty feet. I don't like my feet being in the mud. You know, talking about it is muddy enough. I don't watch all the live streams. I don't have that kind of time. And then what am I listening to exactly? Nothing. Just a bunch of garbage. And many children have explored bodies, other children's bodies, but they don't grow up to be pedophiles. Let me make that clear during this live stream. And just because a child is molested does not mean they grow up to be a pedophile. You have to prove it. You have to prove it. But some might say, well, his disposition, he seems creepy. He probably did touch his daughter too. Still got to prove it. Still got to prove it. Candace, very manly, masculine looking. Long boy shorts, t-shirts, no bra, socks, flip-flops. not really caring about her appearance at all. One would say, well, what did he see in her? Well, he saw youth. He's older than her. He saw a young woman, saw someone lost, destitute. He took her in. But what people don't seem to understand is that chaos breeds chaos. So here comes a chaotic old man messing with a chaotic young person. One thing begets another. And that's what you have with these two. Did someone walk up on that property and take the child out of the basement? Did someone take the child off the property while she was outside playing? Because what you have to remember about a story is just that you don't have any proof of where she was on the property, because you don't even have proof she made it back from her outing with her mother. We have that infamous picture of her lying on milk jugs. Some people thought she was not alive. Some people thought she was dry drowning, just coming up with all kind of stuff. You don't even have no proof to nothing. The water wasn't that deep. You got to prove she was in the water. She had a problem. Boy H said she did go under, choked a little bit, but she was all right. You don't know. Don't know if she passed out there and they lied and put her in the car, dressed her. We also had a difference in that. What she actually wore that day. Don't know. Did her mother have those same clothes that she had on in those pictures? Don't know. You don't know anything. Just talk gibberish. And that's what's so interesting about all these stories. That's where they're similar. There's only one or two people spinning the web. And what's more interesting is that the father is the one calling 911. Why? You weren't there. Oh, her phone wasn't working conveniently. But yet, when you all get the hee-hawing around, drunk and toe up, now the phone works. Stay woke. You're calling 911, God knows how many times. How did you call? Tin can with a string? Ran to the neighbor, used their phone every time you all got crunk and drunk, geeked up, high. Oh, got to go to the neighbors, use their phone. Don't got no service. Well, how did their phone work? Oh, they got a landline? Why don't you have a landline? Got kids? Oh, yeah, that's too much like doing right. Oh, I don't want a landline. Got to get some janky-ass cell service. Can't get no cell service back here in the middle of nowhere. When you look at the area view, it's massive land. We're in the mountains here, East Tennessee. So when trees are in full bloom, like now, you can't see anything. Can't see anything. Person could be right in front of you, lying in high grass, several feet away, 50 yards away, whatever. How are you going to see him? You'd only sense something by smell, decomposition. Where do you look? Because you got to know where to look. You got to have information of where to look. And what I find interesting about this story is that when they came back to search that winter of 21, they went right back up in the holler to look. So what I asked myself is, have they taken this investigation to North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, anywhere nearby? Why are you back there still looking? Could it be that somebody's device pinged back there in the holler where they lived, and they went back when they knew the brush would be down, dead, to see what they could find? Because whenever a search team goes back to a place close proximity to a house or a certain area, there is a reason. There's a reason. So were any other jurisdictions involved in a search, such as Jonesboro, Kingsport, Johnson City, Greenville, any other location, North Carolina, Did they search any other states for Summer Wells? Where does the case stand right now? Is it criminal or no? Do you all have any suspects or no? Do you have a suspect or no? Who are your witnesses to bring forward information in this case? Did you vet all of them properly? Do you believe the testimony from these witnesses? How many witnesses do you have? Do you have witnesses from other jurisdictions who can give some type of personal information that is valid to the case? Did you offer lie detector tests to other people such as Boy H? Any neighbors? Why have we never seen any footage of the child out and about in Kingsport, Tennessee? Checkmate. She was out, the mother was out, but that doesn't mean that the child was out. The only time we heard she was out is when they went to that lake. And naturally, there probably were no cameras there. So that leaves hospital. She probably never took her out of the car there. Smoke shop, grocery store, pharmacy. Then we later hear this year, Burger King from Boy H, if you believe that. So the child probably never even got out of the car, just riding alone in the back seat. The grandmother was there. Her role, her knowledge. Grandis, did you all return home with a girl child in tow with milk? What do you know about the disappearance of Summer Wells? 3 weeks later, you left Tennessee and went to Wisconsin, allegedly. Did you go to Wisconsin, Minnesota, New York? I don't know. Because everything's a virgin. And when you don't hear it from law enforcement, it doesn't mean anything. He said and she said and he did this and she did that. Bring a receipt. And that's the one thing you don't have in this story is a receipt. Oh, she gets cold. That's why I put her in pants and a jacket in that infamous picture. Does she get cold? I don't know. It's the mother talking. Then some would say, well, if she gets cold from being in a swimming hole, why are you leaning her up against jugs? You didn't look back to see that she fell over on jugs? Entitled to your interpretation. Because you don't really know anything. Accident at the house. Because she had fallen down the steps, hurt herself, and they covered it up and discarded the child. Could one of the children have been picking on her, bullying her, and hurt her? Could the mother have done something to her, upset, mad? Or is this a deliberate crime to get rid of a child? Some people want to say it's human trafficking. Some people want to say Grandis took her. Grandis couldn't have taken her because Grandis didn't leave until 3 weeks later, allegedly. But see, you got to have proof of when somebody actually left the property. And how would you know that? You're not there. So everything's he said, she said. Pookieville. Or shall I say Bubbaville? He said this and he said that. Don said. Marsha. I never thought I could be so disgusted with YouTube. I must admit, 2021 was a bad year up here. All the foolishness with the YouTubers running down here, jumping out of clown cars, filming. Just a bunch of painted pigs. I said that. And I stand on it. Going to Don's job site, hooping and hollering. A lot of you are lucky to even be alive because you couldn't have done that with certain people, white or black. Because somebody would have busted you to the white meat. You show up to their damn job trying to get them fired. Baby killer or not, it's principle. Arguing outside the driveway, YouTubers looking like fucking fools. And some of you were down with that. Oh, they need to go to the job. They need to go to the job. They need to go to the house. Well, okay, your ass on. Go on, make a fool out yourself. YouTubers arguing with each other at the end of the driveway. At the end of a driveway, you're standing out here arguing. A bunch of dope heads arguing with each other. Ding, 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 ding. Where are those YouTubers? I'll wait. No longer on YouTube. So if you think you can't get put off of YouTube, yes, you can. I'll let that sit right there. Three years. 3 years this Saturday. And no update. Not one damn update this year. Ronnie Lawson, let the Queen talk to you for just a second. You've had your own trouble. Your son being in the news for sexual assaults and so on and so forth. And that don't mean it's you got anything to do with that, but it's nonetheless, it got in the news and it is what it is. Sir, are you ever going to bring forward some information? We want to know. Oh, they don't care about that born. YouTuber all down there, Gabby Petito, the Laundry's house, raising the dead down there. He dead in a damn swamp, and you down there hollering and fussing at his mom and daddy house. That's how stupid people are. When all that took place, I was just sitting back looking, laughing. I said, look at these fools down here raising hell at these people's house, and he in the swamp dead and got ate up by alligators. Because you're a fool. You're utter fool. But this is what's wrong with people, thinking it's okay to go stand outside people's houses. YouTubers, you're stupid. You're stupid, stupid, stupid. Because let me tell you something. You wouldn't like it if some of us found you and we stood outside of your damn house, your apartment, your little dust-ass trailer with signs. Let's put up some signs with YouTuber on the board and stand outside your damn house. And you coming out there with your little dust-ass bathrobe on talking shit. Why you messing with me? Why you messing with me? I ain't done nothing to y'all. I'm just a YouTuber. Why you messing with me? Well, you messing with folks. Ain't nobody got to lock down in Candace, but there's a way of doing things. Because I'm really surprised that some of you are still on YouTube. Because it couldn't have been Queen. Lord, have mercy. That's all I'm going to say. There been some smoke in the city. Because see, Tennessee law says, I got to make sure all your arm, your feet, and your legs, and your head is inside of my house. If you understand where I'm coming from. Say it again, Queen. Tennessee law says I got to make sure all of your feet, your hands, and your arms, and your legs, and your big ass head is inside of my damn house. And then I can call 911. 911, what is your emergency, please? Yes, I have an intruder here. I was in my bedroom and I heard a disturbance. And there was this man standing inside of my living room. And he was rumbling through my papers. And I don't know who he is. And I gladly used my firearm and I shot him to death. Can you please come pick him up? The dangerous games you people play. But see, Don and Candace gave YouTube a reason to be asses. Okay? I'm not making excuses for the YouTubers, but the parents came to YouTube, so they gave it back. So what did I tell you? Seek and ye shall find. So you go looking for trouble, you gonna get trouble. You stupidly let the people message you on Facebook. You call and talk, y'all exchange numbers. You come on YouTube and hoop and holler and name call. Then next thing you know, the YouTubers turn on you. They start recording your phone calls and screenshots, and then they put it on the channel for the likes and views, and now you mad. Now you go jump on another panel to complain about that YouTuber. Then you and that YouTuber fall out. Then you go jump on another panel. It's just a vicious cycle. I don't know why they're doing this to me. I don't know why they're doing this to me. But this is what you wanted. 5 minutes of fame. 5 minutes, Dougie Fresh. 5 minutes. Drip, 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 drip. 5 minutes. Everybody want to be famous on YouTube, but are you willing to pay the price? See, that's the question of the hour. Are you willing to pay the price for being famous up here? Are you really famous? Because who the hell knows you? Who the hell knows who you is? You ain't famous, baby, till you get your name up there on Entertainment Tonight. You got you a star on the Walk of Fame. Somebody want to make a documentary or a movie about you. And you bringing in some mad figures, 7+. You got you about 6,000 to 10,000 square feet. You got your 2 cars in the garage. And it ain't a Toyota. Ting, ting, ting. Ain't no Toyota Corolla. Ain't no Chevy Cruze. When you park you a Maybach, you got you a nice Jaguar. And they paid in full. Then you've arrived. But until then, you're just a dusty crumb snatcher. That's what you have up here. Nonsense. But it's expected because what I said before in the other little situation going on up the road for me. There's mischief in the story. So you can't expect nothing good to come from something bad. It usually doesn't work that way. Something bad happened in the holler. So what would make you think something good was going to come from something bad? It doesn't work like that. So that's where YouTube, social media came in. Everybody jumping on the story, wanting 5 minutes of fame. But in the end, the child is still missing. And her parents are free. And they're walking around like their shit don't stink. And 3 other children are in foster care. And they never did anything to get their boys back. Let's talk about that. How can you say you want your children, you love your children, and you didn't even fight for your children? You made no attempt to get your children back. Why not? Because they probably wanted you to pee in a cup, stop drinking, stop smoking, stop getting high. And you couldn't do that because that's what you like to do. Oh, no, I don't want nobody messing with my good free time. No, baby, I got to smoke that dope, baby. Got to drink that drink. I don't want nobody telling me I can't get a little whiskey, a little vodka. Hell to the no. I got to drink that beer. That's why your kids are gone. Sometimes I wonder, do the children miss them? Probably not at this point. Almost 3 years. They probably don't. But they could. Because children will love you regardless of your sins and your flaws. A child will love a pedophile. A child will love an abuser, mental, physical abuser. Because that's all they know. Because they're probably fearing, well, I know they don't treat me well, but I don't want to leave here to go somewhere else unknown. I don't know those people. I don't know anything about those people. I don't want to leave this rotten ass mother and father, but I don't want to go over there either because I don't know them. That's expected. How are the children doing? Are they well? Are they doing well in school, the boys? I hope they are. I hope they're happy. They're flourishing. I pray that they're doing well in school. And I pray that their mental health is top priority. And I pray that they're getting the help and therapy they need. And I pray to God they do not have the ways of Candace Bly and Donald Wells. Amen. Amen. Where is Summer Wells? Is this child alive or is she deceased? If she is deceased, what happened to her? Accident, cover up, or deliberate homicide? Some of us believe that the parents knew, orchestrated this. But as you heard in this commentary, they believe it was planned, but they didn't say homicide by parents. They just said somebody got her out of there. Somebody lied in wait. I don't know. I don't know what happened to her. Through the course of this case, the father went to jail, drinking, driving, violation of probation, all type of nonsense. They moved out of town briefly to work. They got on with their business. And that's what people do. They get on. And if you didn't know any better, by looking at them and their posts, posting up here to YouTube, being up here all the time, right after the child went missing, you would never think they had any children at all. Because YouTube is not the place to be up here talking and philandering around pertaining to your missing child. I don't advise it. So if anybody out there gets a child missing, bypass YouTube. Save yourself. Save yourself the heartache and the judgment. Don't do it. Stop looking at Facebook. And I wouldn't look in the YouTube queue because you're not going to do anything but make yourself sick with worry and frustration. Looking at the videos of people assuming they know what happened to your child. We all have done it, including myself. And if you are guilty, you probably won't give a damn anyway. You'll probably be living it up, and you'll probably go looking for trouble on Facebook, commenting, and also in the YouTube queue. And that will also be the start of your problems. If you've never spoken on the panel, feel free to hit the link. I'd like to hear from some new people who have never spoken on this network, new subscribers, new viewers, who want to go back down memory lane with the Queen pertaining to Summer Wells. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Vault Excel. Well, Boston, that's his choice. But you can't cry about wanting people to stop talking about your child if you're still talking on YouTube. So that's his choice. Whoever it is where he's speaking is probably somebody he feels supports him. So he will do that. I'm not shocked at that. Not shocked at all. So it's all sick. You're welcome, Val. It's a lot of content to go over, so you'll have a hard time trying to keep up because so many people made videos, pertaining to the case. Hello, Pale Rider. Bandit TV, are you in the chat? I thought Bandit TV was still there.
us here on Closing Arguments, and this story is so heartbreaking. We're talking about a 5-year-old girl who went missing and has not been found. It's all taking place in Tennessee. It's a story we've been covering for some time. Take a look. There's her face. Her picture has been put on billboards, posters. It's all over. People are posting, reposting, all looking, hoping, and praying that they can find Summer Wells. There she is. And tonight we have some updates on the family of this missing angel, Summer Wells, who disappeared nearly 6 weeks ago. Over the weekend, Summer's father, Donald Wells, confirmed that Summer's brothers were removed from the family's home during an interview with J is for Justice podcast. Here is some of what he said.
Are the kids okay?
They're fine. They're fine.
The rumor is that they were taken out of the home. Were they taken from you guys?
No.
Were they? Oh no.
No.
Yesterday?
A couple days ago.
I'm so sorry.
Right now, with everybody attacking us and all this stuff going on, right now, the probably better for that.
WJHL reporter Ansley Daniels spoke with Summer's parents, Donald and Candace Wells, after a hearing yesterday, and is joining us live tonight with more. Ansley, great to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having us back on. I did actually speak with Don Wells yesterday, as well as Candace. There was a court hearing yesterday here in Hawkins County. Now, I want to be clear that we were not allowed in the courtroom. I was not even allowed to take my phone or Apple Watch or anything like that into the lobby. I had to leave all of that into the car. So I was only allowed to take a pen and a notepad in to the lobby yesterday. They got there around 1 o'clock, right when their hearing began. They were immediately escorted into another area. And when they came out, that's when I had the opportunity to speak with both of them, where Candace Blythe first walked out. She confirmed to me that the boys had been removed from the home late last week. Yesterday, she did not tell me why. She said that she would prefer to not explain why they had been left, or about why they had been taken.
Why not? If you're listening to the details, it's interesting that this was a 6-week turnaround. You hear Don telling this YouTuber how people were coming at them, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry to hear the kids are gone. Okay, come on with all that. You know these people from a can of paint. Common sense should tell you, these people are not fit to be raising children. Why would your children be removed 6 weeks later? Some of us felt like they should have been removed the day the damn little girl went missing. But that's the point. The state has to show some type of proof that they were unfit to take the children day one. But many of us felt like, well, look at the house. The house is dilapidated. The outside's dilapidated. The inside probably wasn't fit. The little girl's room, we saw it didn't look like nothing but a damn dungeon. Why you got these kids in here? Their bedrooms are open, facing the front door. But as a social worker told me, we don't remove children from houses in Tennessee just because it don't look good. The property don't look good. The outside don't look good. We don't move. We don't take them out. So, Candace, what happened? What happened a week before this interview for your children to be removed? Naturally, Don comes to YouTube with some old cockamamie ass story. I don't believe nothing he has ever said. It's like I said, he's blasphemous. He has used the Lord's name. He's just disgusting, calling people nasty racial slurs. Why would I listen to somebody like that? I'm not. And that's all a lot of you have done over the years. You always repeating what Don said, what Candace said. But yet they're the ones who last were with the children. Candace anyway. Don, the mouthpiece for Candace, but yet he was 40 minutes away at work. See, you don't have proof that he was anywhere. Could have been sitting up in there the whole damn time when she left for work. Well, when she left out, excuse me. You don't know because you're not there. Ansley Daniel talking to Vinnie Politan. Thank you for your time.
by the state. Now, she did say that they have retained an attorney, but she wanted to make clear that this was a separate situation from her daughter being missing from their home.
Whatever.
A few minutes later, Don Wells walked out of the Justice Center, and I spoke with him. He also confirmed to me that the boys had been taken, and he did mention something similar to what he said on the podcast. He said that the boys were safer where they were in state custody. Now, he did not explain to me why. He didn't give me any reasoning as to why they were safer. He just said that he believed that they were safer there. Now, yesterday, we also checked with the clerk.
They were safer. So what are you trying to say? You gave your children up to the state so they could be safe. So now what you want to do? Blame the public and the YouTubers for your children being out of your house. Does that make any damn sense? If that's the point you were trying to make. Oh, the kids don't feel safe. They're threatening us. But did anybody ever come to your house, threaten you or the children, try to kidnap the children, try to hurt you? I never heard anybody came to your house. Only a fool would have went venturing back there in that dirt-ass road, broke up concrete. Who the hell wants to tear up their car trying to go up that damn driveway? You wouldn't have a muffler, a front end, or nothing. That's a road for tractor trailers. Not your standard car. Nobody was going back there to do anything to you all. You've been back there this whole time. Now all of a sudden your little girl goes missing. Bah humbug. Children out of your custody, you have done nothing to get them back. Nothing, nothing, nothing. You and Candy Cane. Oh, yeah, here. Take my kids. I fear for their safety. But you all couldn't wait to get crunk and drunk. Jumping on YouTube live, drunker than Cooter Brown. You made no attempt to get your kids back. And you are comfortable without them. All four. So I don't care about a lie detector test, sniffle test. That means nothing to me. Because you all didn't search for your children. She changed her version I don't know how many times. She never told the truth during that first interview that I played during this live stream. She never mentioned she was in Kingsport during that interview. Nothing, nothing, nothing. The dispatch call is contradictory to this interview. We hear that you walked off the property. That lady is not going to make that up. For what? Because she's supposed to specifically ask you questions. 911, what is your emergency, please? Oh, yes, my daughter is missing. Okay, well, where did she go missing? Oh, she was in the basement. Okay, well, where are you, ma'am? Well, I'm up here at the house, blah, blah, blah. Where was she put in? You walked off. That's why when you started that interview, you made sure to tell that lady, I don't walk anywhere. I don't like bears and coyotes and snakes. Oh, my. Like a damn child nursery rhyme. You made sure to tell her that, and that interviewer, she didn't catch it. This is why news stations, please hire people that know how to ask questions. Because I would have asked, Candace, what are you talking about? What do you mean you don't like coyotes, bears, and snakes? And she would have had to go there. Well, what I meant was, and you would have caught her right there. Because it didn't make any sense to mention that. She's not asking you about you. She's asking you about your child. So it makes no sense for you to talk about, I don't like walking around. I'm not talking about you. I'm here to talk about your daughter. What are you talking about? So see, that girl obviously she didn't pick that up. She probably didn't realize that afterwards or while she's interviewing, like, what the hell is she talking about? But she couldn't say anything because her back's to the camera. I would have asked, well, what do you mean you don't like bears and coyotes? Please elaborate. And then Candace would have had to come up with something. And she wouldn't have been ready for that.
Clerk's office. office. There is no new paperwork on this, but when it comes to situations involving minors, typically it's pretty a standard procedure for them to not release any paperwork or to not allow us into courtrooms and things of that nature. But again, both of our parents wanted it to be made clear that this was a separate situation from Summer being missing.
Let me ask you, Ansley, because you're there. When you said safer, a couple things come to mind. Sometimes in these super high-profile cases like this, there could be a lot of people kind of roll into town. Maybe you don't want the kids near them, all this attention that they're getting as well. Do you think that played any role in it based upon what is happening near and around their home and in the community?
That certainly could be a reason as to why they were removed. I will say on the podcast, Dawn Wells did mention that he had an episode of drinking over the weekend. Again, we are not sure if it's correlated at all. We just know that he mentioned it. He said that was the reason why on that podcast. However, yesterday when I asked Candace, she didn't want to give me the reason as to why they were.
So here he mentions he had an episode with drinking. Episode with drinking meaning what? You lashed out, you cussed everybody out, you put your hands on somebody. She called 911. What? Elaborate, because that's general. It's general conversation doesn't make any sense. And then you all kept saying, "Oh, but the kids leaving don't got nothing to do with Summer." They don't. Well, that depends on who's viewing the story. I had an episode with drinking. Well, explain what you mean. You got drunk, turned up, or you drink all the time, felt it was safe for the children to be out your custody because you drink all the time. But then one would say, why that day? You've been drinking, more than likely. So why that day you decide, let me go let the state come pick up my kids. So what are you saying? You all called the state to come get your kids? You willingly put your kids in the state's care? Is that what you're saying, Donna Candace? Or something happened that night, that weekend, and a child or Candace called 911, and then the state made a decision to come get your kids. Oh, all the talking you've done on YouTube, but that's the one thing you refuse to answer: why your children are in foster care and how they came to be there. Interesting. And you have yet to get your children back. Why is that?
Taken. But you're right. There is a lot of talk about this case. It's definitely, made waves here in our community in Northeast Tennessee. There are people from all over the nation and the world watching this case right now. So that certainly could be a reason as to why they were taken.
Bullshit.
But, again, there are prayer circles happening every week for Summer in the Kingsport community, which is about 30 minutes from where she lives. And her mother has been showing up to some. At the last one 2 weeks ago, Summer's brothers were there, but at the one last night, it was only Summer's mother as well as her Sunday school teacher. So, there have been people too that have been coming from all over the nation to those, so that, definitely does play into your theory some.
And how about the latest in searches? Have there been more searches? And if so, do we know anything about results? Was anything found?
There was another search over the weekend. EquiSearch Midwest came back. They were here in the beginning stages of this search. They came back over this past weekend. Unfortunately, though, nothing came up of that search, especially nothing that we're aware of at this time. However, yesterday we did receive an interesting release from the Churchill Rescue Squad. They were the lead agency on the ground search. And yesterday, after that search was completed over the weekend, they told us that they are no longer the lead agency for the ground search, and that everything will now go through the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office unless the Sheriff's Office needs them to assist. We aren't really sure why that is. Yesterday we did reach out for an interview with Tim Coop, who is the incident commander of ground search operations, or was for this case, but he said that he was not interested in furthering the release that he sent out yesterday, just that he was no longer the lead agency on the ground search.
So why was the Churchill Rescue Squad relinquished from their duties or offering help? Any ideas, Ronnie Lawson? Could this be like what I said earlier in my live stream, that you wanted all the credit for everything? Or did you all have some type of information with the help of TBI that you knew the child was not alive, so you didn't need their help. What's the truth? Because this doesn't make any sense. Churchill Rescue Squad relinquished, but then Midwest EquiSearch comes in. So then that kind of contradicts what I just said about the child being deceased. Why would EquiSearch come in? So is it you all had some type of differences, Mr. Ronnie Lawson, with this Churchill Rescue Squad? What's the problem? Because it really don't make any sense. Because they end up searching in the winter. Somebody had to get permission for that. So did they go through Hawkins County Sheriff, that group, or was that Hawkins County Sheriff doing the searching? I'm confused. It's been a while since we've talked about this from the beginning. And it's hard to keep up with everything. You'd have to go through every damn news briefing to keep up with the who's and the who's and the what's of. But could this be a case of Ronnie Lawson is the head knocker and he wants to be in charge of this investigation and he didn't want anybody else interfering, helping, whatever? I don't know. Just seems odd. That's a local rescue squad and you'd have a problem with them. Then we had the problem with the GoFundMe that went through them. And we had a nosy Parker from the UK interfering in that, complaining about a YouTuber raising money on their channel. And then it was dismantled finally through the courts and given to other children agencies in the area. So that means now the baby girl doesn't even have a reward fund because of what I just said earlier in my live from yesterday. You have all these messy ass people that want to interfere in cases when they don't have no business interfering. All the way across the pond and you're way over here in Tennessee meddling. It's none of your business. The reward fund wasn't for you, it's for her. Every child missing person should have a reward fund. And it's sad to say that money talks. Money makes people talk. But people should want to tell the truth and tell the facts without being paid money. But it is what it is.
Were you born between 1969 and 1970?
Sorry about that. Intermission. Hey, everybody. TBI not sharing info. Well, I don't know.
Into the conversation tonight, joining us in Atlanta, Georgia, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, former senior investigator for the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office and forensics media analyst Joseph Scott Morgan, and in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, and author of Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zionist Society cult. Mike King is with us. Great to have you both here. Joseph Scott Morgan, let me start with you. Your reaction to the latest developments involving the family, that the siblings have been removed from the home.
Well, there's any number of reasons why people are separated from one another. Let's remember these children were that first point of contact. They had these immediate recollections. And one of the things that, police officers are taught early on in their training is that if you have witnesses, you want to keep them separated so that the stories can get jumbled up. That's at this point in time. Secondly, what level of danger was there? People keep using this word safe. What level of danger was there in this dwelling, at this residence, in the surrounding area? Why would they feel compelled to have this need to extricate these children from this location? And then, you have this familial dynamic. You really wonder, do the police have something else in mind here? Are they looking at something else? Has the situation become untenable in that residence? Remember what was mentioned just a few moments ago, the dad actually admitted to having a bout of drinking. That's certainly an environment that you would not want these young children in. My Lord, they've been subjected to enough at this point.
Mike King, your reaction to these latest developments involving the family.
Yeah, I think Joseph's right on target. The questions that I guess I have are, was it something related to the investigation, or was it entirely separate from that? And it would appear with Don's comments about the drinking, and he mentions other things which he doesn't really clarify, that it might be that family also acknowledges that with the stress that they're under with a missing 5-year-old daughter, that they're not giving the attention that these children deserve. There are certainly questions about whether the home is a safe environment for the children anyway. And so there might be a number of reasons, but I particularly like the idea, Vinny, that this gives investigators an opportunity to really lock down whether that child entered the home, whether she went into the basement, whether she could have exited that basement door, whether there was someone else. There are so many things that they are pivotal in understanding, and I think it's a great opportunity for forensic examinations.
Joseph, what do you think about the sheriff taking over the search efforts, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department?
Well, he's going to have more. He has broader resources. I think he can call things to bear, call people up, bring in reserves, this sort of thing. Sheriff, it's well known that sheriffs are, there's a reason they're referred to as the high sheriff. They're some of the most powerful people in a particular county, and so you want that individual on point. One of the things that I'm really thinking about here, Vinny, relative to this search, and I don't want to bury the lead, jump ahead, but one of the things I'm thinking about is that we have had so many boots on the ground in this case. My assumption is that they have used all manner of canine tracking at this point, everything from looking for a living human being to cadaver dogs, this sort of thing. And it would seem, at least, and we can't verify this obviously, that there is no scent that has been determined. I'm thinking out on this property, this is a vast area. Are there abandoned wells? Are there sinkholes? I've visited this area and camped up there with my family. I can tell you there are caves up there. There's all kinds of little nooks and crannies that folks can get into.
Exactly.
But they're not picking up on any kind of scent. So you're not just going to have a young girl that's barefooted, that's this age, that's going to wander off in a straight line and leave this grid area here. I'm still of the opinion that she has been spirited away somewhere.
Ansley, can you kind of fill us in on the extent of the search efforts? How many searches, how quickly after she disappeared they began, and where they've been focused?
The search began immediately, from what I understand, when that 911 call came in. I know that search, the initial night, went into the wee hours of the morning. Now, I think that they broke off for a little bit and then resumed at daylight. I think they broke off around 3 or 4 and then kind of came back at daylight. Then after that, the searches went on for 13 days in that area, with more than 1,000 people searching for more than 160 agencies, not only across the state of Tennessee, but other states as well across the Southeast. I think that, your point to the cadaver dogs and the other dogs that have been here searching, is a very interesting point that you brought up. We learned.
Well, now we hear her mention what I asked. Other states, other agencies helping. So what other states did they search for the child? How many states were involved in the search for Summer Wells? And I guess we could say nothing came about because we haven't heard anything.
A little bit about that last week in a communications meetings from EMA directors in Hawkins County. They mentioned that they, have used some of their supplies to take the dogs further out into the woods on different ATV units, so they wouldn't get as tired. So we do know that dogs were used. We've told that they've searched more than a 4-mile radius near the home, but nothing has come up, which is just leaving us with more questions than answers most days.
Yeah, Mike King, that's not a great place to be, with more questions than answers. So what's next? Where do we go from here, Mike? If these searches, and these are vast searches, you got Texas or Midwest EquuSearch coming in more than once. Yeah. You've got all law enforcement, and they're coming up empty. Where do we go?
Yeah, I think you got to go back to ground zero and solve that problem first. And so the interviews with mom and dad and grandmother and the boys continues to be an extremely important piece of this puzzle. You got to come up with a reason why she would leave the property, and if it would have been because she was targeted in some way or just an opportunistic kind of thing. But we can't rule out the fact that this tyke could have wandered off, and just like we've talked about, there are so many places she could have tucked up under a bush or something. But as time goes on and with the temperatures the way they are, there would start to be signs if she were somewhere out in the open. So it makes you worry about things like those wells or those little caverns where she might crawl.
I want to take a listen again and remind folks, this is Candace Bly, Summer's mom, speaking and kind of giving us an idea of what happened. And this is the interview from WJHL, of course.
Feels like a dream, feels like that.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it feels like a dream. Sure does. Sure feels like one.
Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma. And she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay. And I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone.
Ansley, Daniel, let me ask you, has anything changed in what the parents are saying happened? Have they added to it, elaborated on what happened that day?
To me personally, they have not. That's been their story, and Candace and Dawn have both stuck to that for the most part. The only thing that I would say that, might bring a little bit of question is that time frame. She mentions 2 minutes where, Summer went inside and Candace was outside with her mother. She mentions that there was a 2-minute time span there, but a lot of people, like I say, myself included, question, could she have walked off and gone that far away within that 2-minute frame? And then, there's also the question of, kind of what led up to that moment that she went missing. What happened during the day? There's been a couple of different scenarios there, but unfortunately,
well, you didn't ask.
For the most part, that story is stuck the same. So we still, again, don't really know what exactly happened that night in Beach Creek.
Ansley Daniel, WJHL, always great to have you on the program. Really appreciate your reporting and your insight. Thanks so much.
Recordings just gone.
Well, you didn't ask her, Ansley. You never asked. What'd you do this day? So you don't know anything about the groceries, this, that, and the other? Nothing. And here's Queen's comment on top of the video. What are the odds? At the vote, 865, 2 years ago. Great points from Joseph. I'm still questioning Sheriff taking lead on search. Why now, 6 weeks later? Will they allow EquiSearch to return? I hope so. When you listen to Candy's version of that day, she sounds as if she's rehearsed her lines or carefully speaking, thinking first. And now, having seen the Wells property dwelling, this clip makes me cringe. In no way did I ever imagine their house looking so horrible, cluttered, outside, inside, nor the visual of the makeshift basement. No stranger went inside this home to kidnap Summer. Most seeing the home now would naturally agree. Why would I not think DHS removed the boys because of Summer's disappearance? If they hadn't been there before under same living conditions, why show up now? Hopefully the boys are safe. I think Don made this comment as self-serving, a pity plea. Prayers for Summer. Amen. It's from the Vote XL. Miss Fifi replies, Hey, Queen. Well said. No matter what, I'm sticking to what I feel. Know what? I'm sticking to what I feel. Something is not right. And she was last with her mother and grandmother. Where is Summer? We want justice and praying. God, please bring justice and truth. Fifi replies again. Also, who would want to deal with all those dogs' nastiness and not knowing who all is around to take Summer? Then they have to pass these dogs and climb up under a wall to go down into the room. It just doesn't make any sense. You have to know this house to even be able to move around in it. Miss Fifi, 9980. Well said. You'd have to know the house to know to get your prey if you are a predator. Your prey is Summer Wells. You'd have to know she was in that room at a specific time, number one. You'd have to know that you could get in undetected. You'd have to know you could exit undetected. And you also have to have an escape route with the child and be undetected. Roll the dice. Roll the dice. Who might that person be? And if they have the child, where are they now? And is the child alive or deceased? What are the odds the child's gone all day with the mother, but gets kidnapped once returned home? Stay woke. So why would the kidnapper be there in the first place? And the mother's gone, but she left 3 boys alone. If a predator wanted to play with children, he or she had 3 to take. Stay woke. And just like in another case, a child's gone with their mother all day, but then poof, poof, voila, comes home and they walked out barefoot. Everybody's barefoot in Tennessee missing. Did you find this interesting? This is why this video is called The Blueprint. Is this case the blueprint for another case here in Tennessee? Did somebody mirror the disappearance of their child after Summer Wells? They watched the YouTube videos. They watched the parents. They watched the news interviews. And they meticulously and articulated and planned the disappearance of their boy child. Was Summer Wells' case the blueprint for another case? She put it on the boys. Did she? What did the boys say to law enforcement about that day? Did they also tell the police they were left alone? And somebody in the chat said, why didn't you go get arrested for negligence? Exactly. But the negligence would have to be severe in order to get the children once removed and also bring forward charges. Okay? But there should have been negligence with her leaving the boys alone. Checkmate. The boys should have been removed due to the fact, hey, you've left them here all day. But because you have a 13-year-old there, our state doesn't have any laws stipulating the ages of children left alone. So she could bypass that charge of neglect of leaving the boys alone. Insanity, yes. Bingo. Where do we go from here? This upcoming Saturday will mark 3 years. Child went missing. And there have been no new updates pertaining to her disappearance. No arrests, no nothing. No more searches, nothing. Where is she? Did she wander off? Went, snatched her up? Don't know. There's always the possibility for that. Child wandered off. Somebody saw her. some sick, creepy crawler, and they snatched her up. Possibility the parents deliberately unalived her. Some people say traffic, sold her. Some people say an accident by the mother. Some people say an accident with the brothers. They hurt her. Or she just had an accident playing, hurt herself, and the mother covered it up. Got rid of her. No CCTV footage. Because you're in a holler. Houses aren't right close together. So if somebody has a camera, it'll just be pointed towards their property. And here, you heard of no camera outside, inside. Obviously, they didn't feel the need to have a camera. Everybody knows everybody. Nobody's coming up here. Yeah, who would want to? Except for somebody like you. Whether traffic or disease, in my opinion, parents were involved, and I don't think grandma knew anything, so she couldn't screw up the alibi. I don't know. Some people feel like Grandis does know something because she took off 3 weeks later, and also the fact she never spoke to the news, which is bizarre. You're living on this property, and yet you don't talk to the news either. It take you you go out to the New Year, January or so, when you did an interview with WJHL. Why? Why it take you so long to talk to the news, Grandis? You were on the property. You lived there. You were last with the little girl with the mother, allegedly. All of you all came home. So what happened? Why would you leave weeks later, allegedly? Where did you go? What did you see? What did you hear? Are you a witness to an accident or homicide? Did your daughter confess anything to you pertaining to the disappearance of your grandchild? I don't know. That's the thing. You can speculate all day, but you don't have anything because you don't even know that the child made it home. Stay woke. And if I didn't know any better, I would say she was dressed to go somewhere in that little pink jacket and those pants. So some people might have thought, yeah, she was handed off to a father, a family member, a friend, a stranger. Because allegedly she changed her clothes at Boy H's house into the swimsuit. If you go back to that Chris Madonna interview, she changed there. So one would say if you thought you were going to go swimming, she should already had her swimsuit on when she left the house. Stay woke. Some question Grandis being at the swimming hole. Well, she said she was there. Candace said she was there. The point of the story is you don't have proof of nothing except for people's versions. It's just the way it is. You either believe what they said or you don't. But so far, there have been no footage of these people running around Kingsport anywhere. Not even just them sitting in a car pulling up to drive-thrus, which I think is interesting. Why not? Show us something. She went here, here, here. This is what we have. Ellie, you talked to her. She allegedly told you where she went that day. Why didn't you all show footage of her at the hospital, the pharmacy, smoke shop, wherever the hell she went? But the point is, if you show the footage, will you be able to see the child in the back seat? That will possibly be a problem. Grocery store. How many places did they go that day? Has anybody come forward to say, yes, I was in the store when she came through. I was at the drive-thru. Yes, she came in this store. How did she look? How did she act? Did you ever see the child walk in with the mother? Or the child just sat in the car every stop? That's where you're going to have the problem. Nobody has seen the child get out of the car. And the only person that can verify the child was even with them is Boy H. He says they went to the swimming hole, swam, she gurgled a little water, blah, blah, blah. Then they went on their merry way to these other places, if you believe Boy H. And I still find it interesting. The news has never spoken about that day in Kingsport the grandmother being with her, nor boy H. And that's where they failed in the interviews. Because I would have asked her, start your day off with me. Tell me what you did this morning up until the child went missing. That's how you do that. That's how you do that. Tell me, what did you do this morning, Candace Bly? What did you do when you got up? Where did you go? You see, had the reporter asked Candace this question, she would have had to put boy H in the story, and she didn't want to do that. She didn't want to do that because she knew how it would look to tell the news, thousands of people watching, what the hell was she doing in the company of a 15-year-old boy? Don't you find it strange? It's omitted in this story, this infamous news interview. There's not even a mention of going to Kingsport. Just, it starts at the house planting flowers. She watches the child walk over into the house. You have no proof that ever happened. None, nada. And like I said, when you watch that video of her dressed in the pink jacket and pants, you have no proof the child was cold. You have no proof that she gets cold. You have no proof. The version is from Candace. It's her version. Allegedly, the daughter was propped up looking like her father. That's why she took the picture. Reminded her of Don, if you believe that. Once again, her version. Where is Summer? Will we get to the truth, to the bottom of this? I'll bring you more coverage through the week pertaining to the disappearance of her. We will celebrate the life of Summer Wells wherever she is, whether she's here on earth or she has passed on. I pray that one day law enforcement will bring us something about this child, because somebody knows where she is and where she can be found and where she can be located. It's just a matter of the evidentiary material. What do they have in this case? Is this a criminal investigation? Number one. Is there a suspects? Number two. Do they have CCTV footage of something pertaining to the child being dropped off, picked up, handed to somebody dumping something, discarding something that's suspicious? What's the truth? If you'd like to donate to this great network, $McAngie129 Cash App, stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you for your time. This is live number 2. The blueprint. Is this case the blueprint for another case of a boy missing out of Tennessee? Did somebody render a copycat to mirror Summer Wells? They watched, they critiqued, they took notes, and they borrowed from a little girl missing. And they put in motion to rid themselves of a boy child in a similar fashion. That's my time. You've been listening to the Vault XL. Thank you.